So, what's on the menu today? Today we have a very special episode that I'm super excited about on both counts. Let's see. Let's start with our libation today, which we haven't even poured yet. It's mainly because of this whole reason here. Oh yeah. Let me show you the audience at home. It's because it's made by nerds, so hence we re-obligated to drink this. This is called industry standard vodka. The truth is, this was a gift from the people who make it. They are some very nice, very cool people in Brooklyn, and this one's exciting to me. I'm not normally a big vodka person. You supposed to drink it neat and chilled, which this is. We planned ahead today. And it's made with sugar beets with love and yeast and all sorts of fun things. And it smells like nothing. And super smooth. I've had it before. It's like ridiculously smooth. Holy shit. Shh. Yeah. I'm not normally a vodka person. I am not a vodka person either. Well done. I think sugar beets is where it's at. Yeah. The future is the sugar beets. The future of vodka. If you in the New York area, you can find it here, or you can order it maybe here, depending on what state you live in. You know how that is. Cheers. Let's begin. This is a very special episode because, as you know, or at least our previous viewers, we usually review things based on your suggestions, things that are already out, so you can read along with us. So today is a special one. We are reviewing Lock-In by John Scalzi. Very exciting. And this is one that has not come out yet. So this will be an interesting episode because since it hasn't come out yet, we can't go into very much depth about the plot and the who did what and the who killed who and the what now. So basically, we're going to split this one into two. First half, we're going to give our broad impressions, who would like it, what we thought about it, what the basic premise is, etc. And then after the break, we are going to have a very mild spoilers discussion. Deeper discussion. Yeah, we want to be spoiling any plot elements, but we will talk about characters and style choices and story decisions, stuff like that. If you don't want extremely mild spoilers, then just keep the video in your tabs, go out, get the book on August 26th, which is when it comes out, and then come back and watch our video. And then come back and watch part 2. So let's see Lock-In, a novel of the near future. Basic premise is a new virus shows up and creates a scenario where some people who catch the virus, their bodies just stop working. So they what's called locked in. They still in there, they conscious, but their bodies don't go. Well, it examines what would happen in our society, especially in America, when one of your population is in this locked-in state. They are still there, they still human, they still thinking, they cannot move, they cannot take care of themselves. And a lot of government money subsidizes the care and development of technologies that allow the locked-in to integrate back into society. And the solution, of course, is robots, basically. And the main conflict at the beginning of the book is that a law has been passed by the government that will no longer subsidize the care and cost of being a Hayden or a lock-in sufferer. So there is sabotage and intrigue from there. Nella, what did you think of Lock-In by John Scalzi? I thought it was the kind of world building that is so well realized, it needs more than one book. And I'm the one sitting here complaining about a series, no more series. And here I am sitting here being all like, oh God, it ended on a cliffhanger, not another series. I just wanted a standalone. And then the standalone comes across and I'm like, this could have really worked if I was a show. Yeah. And the funny thing is, There were a lot of elements about it that kind of reminded me of, I believe, the now cancelled show, Almost Human, that I watched and enjoyed. But I always found it could have explored its own world much better. And I feel like this did what Almost Human wanted to do, which was create the society of haves and have-nots, and also of a different class structure that reflects upon really our own, because it's a sci-fi, and explores it really well, but leaves so much left to still explore. I agree completely. Good night, everybody. No, it's funny because I mean it was funny, because I was talking to some people, and they in publishing, and they had also read it, and it seemed to think it was a spoiler the fact that it ends. I was like, no, that would be in the promotional material, right. But I was not expecting it to end. I was like, 20 pages from the end. I'm like, surely, no, this isn't one. Oh, I guess it is. Can I just say one? It has a great resolution. I was so thoroughly entranced by its resolution. So thorough. It ended so neatly, because I found myself, because it was in the last, 20 pages of the book, and I was getting that the shades of gray. The shades of gray with the whole fear of, no, there's no way this will resolve itself, or it's going to resolve itself really fast. And instead, it was just fast enough. It's funny to mention shades of gray, because maybe it's because I read this right after I read this, and I was kind of in that brain space of longing for death, because all world building and no subsidence, so this was quite refreshing after Jasper Ford, where I longed for death. Why will be boo? Why was so boo? Why I Wow. Well, one of its huge strengths was the characters, and it was a huge strength and a weakness, because there's so much left to the imagination, and I feel like this is kind of a him thing. You've never read any of Scalzi's books, right? Not yet. This is your first. So that is definitely a thing with him, where it's kind of obvious that he has in his head these giant character backstories with far-reaching implications and sweeping motivations, but there ends up being a cast of thousands and a lot not on the page. A lot just sort of like someone will show and may or may not serve a plot point, but they kind of have a lot that you don't see, which aguis maybe we kind of used to seeing, like the NaNoWriMo must put more words in all of the things. Tigers. Ye. I think I much prefer the. It could have been a series, but it stands alone. That you actually leave your audience wanting more. Well, I guess a kind of have mixed feelings about it, because I left this book kind of feeling too much world for not enough book, because it is a very short book. It is extremely, extremely zippy. It was such a well-realized world, and there were a lot of things that were mentioned, but barely explored. To me, it kind of felt like a sci-fi examination of the struggle within the deaf community, and the idea of there is a deaf culture. So stop trying to implant ocular devices into our children's heads, because just because they read deaf doesn't mean they are disabled. We have figured out a new way of being abled, and it's our culture. Leave it alone. The things that able-bodied people assume that other types of people are disabled when maybe they may not see themselves that way, which there was one character in particular that, speaking of things that weren't developed or explored, there was one character that was mentioned a lot throughout the book, and only shows up at the another one of the But the thing is, a book that leaves you wanting more is still a book that is you wanting more is all as you still better than longing for death, longing for a dead, longing for death, longing for death. It's a very snappy tone, so it's not door at all. It's a very light, almost sort of mystery novel. I would consider it a mystery novel. And it also has the element of buddy comedy going on too, so that I always enjoy buddy cop. Yea, the buddy cops that don't have the sex. Oh ho cocking, kind of shocking. And also, this just cursed him. This wasn't even one that was suggested, guys, and this is the first thing we read with no romance in it. Yea, we found one. We found it. It exists. Thank you, John Scruggs. It only needed a man to write. And not to be we found one. It was like, we found the unicorn. Anyway, so after the break, we're going to get into extremely, extremely mild spoilers. But we were going to talk about stylistic stuff and story choices and theme and whatnot. So if you want to wait until after you read the book, do that, and then come watch the second half, or just join. And we're going to talk about this in compare to the word is when the when as the Perusubsen, perusubten, 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 Oh, you tell me, you tell, you come on, you oh, you tell, you tell, you other how you do and now, kind of my Insular Regis, which everybody loved. So let's talk spoilers. Minor spoilers. Extremely minor spoilers. I don't even know if I would consider this a spoiler so much as an experiment, a thought experiment, which is why it reminded me of this, which was sort of like, speaking of John Scalzi, he's just everywhere. He has thoughts. He has some thoughts to think. I kind of can't help but wonder if this was a little bit, teeny bit inspired by this. John Scalzi would like to weigh in. This one was kind of remarkable in the way it deals with gender, specifically the main character's gender, which we never really find out, which strictly speaking doesn't exist because the main character is an A but she is in a body, like a human body, which may or may not have a gender. And the gender she was created in, all gender is referred to in the female, which when you first read it, I mean when I first read it I was thinking, is this some sort of Amazonian snooch here? Planet of the ruled by woman. And Captain Riker's going to come in and he's going to take their matriarchy down a peg. But that could be fun, like the examination of the old sci-fi trope of the planet of Amazons where they re all women and there are no men, but that was the case. It was just that there was one gender. Why can't you gender? And she's like, gender is hard. I'm a ship, not all ships. So in this one, the main character is never explicitly gendered. And I think this was intentional. So we kind of broke a rule a little and discussed this minorly beforehand, but I gendered me own head, this character is male. Based on, well, two things. His name is Chris. No, his name is Chris and I have a brother named Chris. So that tends to have some connotations in my head. A friend of mine brought that up, my good friend who recommended me this, that she asked me if I picked up on that, and I said I did for about 25 off it because I think I was maybe like 20 minutes 30 pages in when I was like, well, this character hasn't been gendered and it's in the first person. Maybe it's kind of going for this ancillary justice thing. And argues, it was about maybe 25 minutes 30 through the book when I was like, no, it's a guy. Because think about being a woman, especially if you re a woman in a male-dominated field, especially if you turn out to be a famous person. Yeah, especially if you re a famous woman. Because that's the thing. You can't assume that the threeps are gender neutral or have that option to be gender neutral. But our main character is kind of a famous person. So everybody knows who they are. Like I said, think about being a woman. People like to remind you of it a lot. And this is what they like to call microaggressions. I work in post-production, motherfucker. And oh me God, I can't enter a room without someone saying something. I mean, it's usually a good joke, but it's just like a, oh, there's a girl here, I guess we're going to have to shower. You know, stuff like that. Just little tiny microaggressive things in the way language is used and the way you retreat it. And this is near future. This is super 20, 30, 40 years into the future. But there's still a lot of the same problems in this future that, like, you know, racism and Second Amendment and gun nuts are still a thing. Black men with guns is still a thing. Black men with guns is still scary. So I was like, I think, because I was talking to a friend about it and he asked me if I thought that the premise was inherently flawed, and I said no, because I think it worked really well in Ancillary Justice, which has me vodka on it, which I have me vodka. Where's this is? Which is? Which where's is? Where's is? I where I heels is easier so I aha. But the thing about ancillary justice is it's not near future at all. It's super not distant future. Like planets, other species, distant future. There's like aliens and shit, whereas this one is really, really near. So I think like it's not a flaw of the writing purse, but I think it is a flaw of the time period that it's set in. You know, it was an interesting idea. I don't think it really works for so near into the future. Well, the thing that, like once we started having this discussion and I realized that I had gendered the character, but the cues I was picking up on were those things we discussed. Like, I mean, aside from me own like, okay, who name's Chris? Like me brother. Just how they retreated made me think. Man. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I think there's like, sort of like maybe if you rereading something in the first person and it's a cop, you will default to it in a certain way. But then there's other things. But then there's the way that the characters treat the main character, and they treat the main character like he's a guy. Well, us discussing it made me think of the whole Dumbledore is gay controversy because Jack Rowling comes out after the fact and says, of course, Dumbledore is gay. Like, that's how I imagined him. And a lot of people went, well, Dumbledore is gay. We have representation. And then other people went in no way, shape or form in the book doesn't even hint at the fact that he is gay. He's not openly gay. That doesn't do anyone a service at all. And we at the point in our society where the thought exercise is great, but we still so desperately need obvious female characters, gay characters, pansexual characters, transgender characters. We need them because the given is still. There's still microaggressions and outright aggressions towards not men. And I think that's another thing about like, because this novel goes to such great lengths to be realistic in the way the majority is often aggressive towards the minority, specifically the Haddons and their threeps. Well, it also brings to mind, like, think of how non-Haddon humans would react to threeps and the fact that you can't identify them right off the bat. And could you imagine how angry some people would get at the fact that, what do you mean I can't gender you just from seeing you? People get angry about that just seeing the human face to face. If they see someone who appears to be androgynous, that makes people still angry. Yid, definitely. Violently angry if they misgender you. Like you treat them. And then it's your fault. Yeah, and then it's your fault. So for something so based in a near-future examination of current issues, that was one that felt a little sorely lacking, especially once. Well, I think it was an interesting experiment. I think that experiment worked a lot better in ancillary justice just because of the setting and the fact that the setting did have to do with gender or lack thereof. Whereas this one is just basically our world with robots and we still live in a very gendered time. And I think the idea that Haddons would look at gender differently makes perfect sense because they don't sex. They can't. Fuck biology. We can't. We can't. Or maybe they can, but it's never really explored in how. It becomes very cerebral. Whoa. It becomes super cerebral. And isn't that just what sex really is for humans? Yeah. So it would make sense that this group would kind of just reject this idea of gender altogether, but that's not really addressed in this book. Which again, this is too much world for not enough books. So, I mean, if you coming back and watching this video to get to the spoiler bit, and you have read it, spoiler, comment below. Let us, well, also aguis maybe spoiler tag your stuff. Spoiler tag you stag. After August 26. After August 26. But let's talk about this more. Are we in an age where we still have to be explicit in our representation and how we write our characters? Now, yes, absolutely. Okay. That's not a question. That's just a statement. That's a statement now, absolutely. And I feel like that doesn't mean that there's no room for thought experiments. But I feel like they sort of like when they do take place in basically our future. They are kind of doomed to failure based on the fact that we know how people are treated when they are a certain way. Yeah. Or even the whole thing with the integrators. And integrators are people who are able to carry hidden consciousnesses. Yeah. So it's like rather than being in the robot body, they could actually be in a human body. And use the human body to experience. Yeah. Eat food and pee and go to Disney World and stuff like that. Yeah. And then the whole world of the integrators. Like I said, there's a lot of books. I know there's so much books. Incredibly tiny book. The world is extremely integral to the plot. I think it's kind of funny that we reviewing this in a show called Boost Your Own Adventure because of our fun-functioning alcoholic partner, the cop partner. Oh yeah, man who drinks because of her pain. Because of son, her pen who because Leslie, her life has been hard. Yeah, her life is hard. So drinking. I mean, I can't like. I did honestly like the idea that she's like. I didn't like it. So we just would get drunk during me integration and then I could deal with it. I am like ye. No, that makes perfect sense. I could ye. I could feel that. Ye. Like, this makes me uncomfortable. I am just going to loosen myself up with a couple of drinks. Because there's like, there is a sort of, she has a sort of antagonistic figure who really hates her for some reason that we never really find out. Why? Aside from that, she's sloppy. Aside from that, she's sloppy and drunk all the time. Yeah. And so there's sort of like a setup for like, she's really going to fail you. And maybe the payoff is that she doesn't. Yeah, but when I think about like her tragic backstory and why she is as she is, I mean it's really just brought in. Just as it's so real now. You put the idea in your head of like that very thing she's always feared is exactly what's happened. Yeah. I mean, well, that's what you expect from like. Yeah. Like, well, maybe if this is all right, fine, let's sit down and I'm going to tell you me thing. Yeah. And I love how like the main character is like, are you sure you don't want to do this later? It's backstory time. Are you sure? Like, no, we redoing it now. We've got like 50 pages of book left. We got to go. We got to get this over with. I was pretty sure we discussed doing this once we solved the case and he put in me shut up, sit down and telling you me thing. Once we solved the case, the book is over. We've got to do it now. Right now. Right the fuck now. So that is Lock in by John Scalzi. Like I said, I feel like we'd super recommend it. Well, no, I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of the book because there's so much book for not a lot of book. It's like 300 pages long. It's so short. Like it really did feel like a breath of fresh air after Shades of Grey, which really made me long for death. Will. In a lot of ways, because I feel like this is world building. Oh, done really well and engagingly. Ye. Oh, like I feel like it's. That is. I think that is his gift there. At least that is his strongest point is the fact that he is able to world build really well. It's based on like the ones that Ivy read. And that was like, speaking of like, we read bitching about prologues. Like he's like one of the very few people I think that can do a prologue, and it actually adds to something. Like the prologue in This Is Just. It's just like 2 pages of. It's like a Wikipedia article. Ye. In fact, it says it's on high school cheat sheet come. Ye. There we go. Ye. I really liked that I had no romance. I really liked the world building. I wish there was more book in the book, and I wish that the cast of thousands paid off more. Ye. Nella. Hell, I have to agree to a lot of that. It was a very fun read. Like I said, it made me long for it to become off series or to replace the series for like quite a while. Well, he seems to be like, ye, he seems to be doing well on that front. Like, so who knows? Give him a week. He'll have like another like the series number 3. I am psyched. Like we said, thank you so much for Zach at Industry Standards. They make this lovely vodka distilled in Brooklyn, New York. It's probably not as chilled right now as it should be because this room is so hot. Yeah, it is really hot. It's made by 2 guys and a cat in Brooklyn. Go to their website if you interested in trying it. It's a very, very good. And we say this is not vodka, people. Ye. Vodka is not me poison of choice. And Lock In by John Scalzi goes on sale August 26. Pre-order that. As always, please leave your comments, your thoughts on John Scalzi, Lock In, and everything on Chiapocalypse come, or you can visit his website, which I believe is called whatever. Damn your grab. Damn you, sir. And we will be very interested in hearing your thoughts. Please, after it comes out, read it, come back and share your thoughts, whether you thought the gender thing worked or not, the payoff, cast of thousands, and of course the lack of romance. All of the thumbs up for that. Sir, we hate love. I recommend this book solely for the fact there's no fucking romance. They're 2 thumbs way, way up. I feel like it's kind of like we had to have like an ungendered main character in order to get that. But I take it. Hey, you know what? I'll take it. Them what are starving. Yeah, so anyway, this was a lot of fun. Again, thank you so much for Zach at Industry Standard for his lovely vodka. And thank you to John Scalzi for signing me book. It's like a big. It kind of looks like the Star Trek symbol only. It kind of does, which kind of works. Anyway, so yeah, cheers. Cheers. I feel like Meg Ryan's 90s fat brunette sister. Hey guys, so we forgot to mention one thing. We need a book for next week. Right, we need a book for the next episode. Next week we're going to be outlining. So, you have 3 options. We're going to do multiple choice this time based on your suggestions. Choose wisely. And also this one that I happen to have. So this is a book that is already out. This is called The Girl with All the Gifts. This was given to me by a friend who works at Orbit, which is a wonderful imprint. They did ancillary justice. And so our 3 options are going to be 1. The Kindle and Khloe Kardashian sister book that came in and gone. City of Something. Colin something something. 2. Save the Pearls. And 3. This. I just want to remind everyone that I am currently a prologue and 2 chapters deep in a recap of Tajer's Curse. So, please keep in mind that if you pick a bad book, I'm forced to read 2 at the same time. So, those are 3. The Kardashian sister book, Save the Pearls, infamous as always. And The Girl with All the Gifts, by all accounts a good book. So leave your suggestions in the comments. Suggest this one, and read along as always. Good night. Good night.